Welcome back, ladies and gents. Hopefully you're now joined by a lovely cup of tea, and we can get into game number 2. FreeFall up against eSuba is coming up next. I'm still joined by this lovely bunch of people. Isn't that right, Melly? We're not going back to Melly ever again anymore. That's what we've learned from today's show. But next game, you said it's going to be your standout for today. Take me through your reasons as to why.
I think FreeFall's had a very strong start to their season. I like their play style as well. Quite interesting. Very clever stuff. Wilkie obviously joined us at the grand finals at the analysis desk. He had a lot of good ideas on the game, and I like the way he thought about the game. What they've been struggling on is because he's been playing those heavy tanks and the MX-1390, so he's always been having to fight. Similarly like what Spell had when Eurofish was playing, he was in the front of the engagement, not in the back with a tier 1 thinking and telling his team what to do. eSuba have been right at the bottom of that table. They've only just picked up their first win, and they've been replaced by Wusa, and they're kind of going back and forth, those two teams. So it's just, for me, FreeFall on the way down a little bit, and well, it's because their name as well, I guess, and eSuba's on their way up. So it's just the battle of the differences, which I really enjoy. Yeah,
certainly two contrasting styles to an extent, but let's have a little look at the players who make up these lineups. So, as you said, Wilkie, a big factor to FreeFall. Captain, would you say, or just shot caller?
I would say captain all in all. You do have Eversea and Agenti as well, but he's the main man in charge of FreeFall as a team. Whatever he says pretty much goes at the end of the day. Similar situation with Voodoo's, he's in the lineup, I believe, today. Yeah, he's playing for eSuba today, so a lot better team with him in there, and probably going to be one of the strongest eSuba we've seen. Very rough and shaky start to the season. They played 3 matches without their team captain, so hardly surprising that they're at the bottom of that table. They still have a little bit of time. I think they could actually hit the 6th spot if they wanted to. They can get in the top 6 teams for the offline finals. Not necessarily that does qualify you for the offline finals, by the way. I'm not putting out any spoilers or anything, and I get a lot of abuse for that by Stephen. But I think with Voodoo's in the front, it's going to be hard for FreeFall to deal with.
Yeah, Voodoo certainly is a defining factor, but I'm looking to see how these guys perform. As you said, eSuba can turn up some days and look quite impressive on very specific maps, but FreeFall overall, I feel personally has the edge in this one. I think I'm in agreement with you on this, but still, it's going to be a tough game all in all. First map being Steps will define a lot of this, so guys, let's get ready for that first map coming up, Steps. So in the south, in blue, it's going to be FreeFall up against eSuba in the north. Both teams struggling within their own rights, but I feel maybe FreeFall showing up a little more than usual. But what sort of tank lineups are we seeing here?
FreeFall have gone for typical tank line, a triple MX-1390 T69 Pershing. Very standard, but what eSuba's done is what eSuba did in Season 1, Season 2 even. Pretty much all AMX-1390s, 5 AMX-1392 Tier 1s. If you actually head over to eu.wgl.net and you have a look at the player profiles, their most played tank on pretty much all their players is the AMX-1390. They ran this strategy against, for instance, Virtus Pro on Steps. Didn't work out, but hardly surprising, could work out against a lesser team. Obviously, FreeFall, no insult to those guys. You're less than Virtus Pro.
I think they'll accept that.
Second best, possibly best team in the world. And an interesting start for them. Very aggressive at the start. I wouldn't say that I particularly like it. With those MX-1390s, you want to be keeping them as close as possible. But the nice thing is that they do have the wolf packs, and they're still keeping line of sight on each other. So if there does come an engagement, they're all going to be ready to support each other, which is the most important thing for that tank.
Yeah, and it is a bit of a curious strategy. I'm not sure. eSuba can be fast and furious, and sometimes it can pay off. Other times it's fallen flat on its face. So, bit of an all-in. FreeFall known to do something similar on occasion, but I feel that they're being a little bit more reserved today, a little bit smarter overall, not going for these all-in lineups. But then again, it takes on to bring something new to actually change anything in these maps, and it certainly has forced a bit of a retraction coming out from FreeFall. So they do have to respect this strategy. They have to respect the amount of firepower that is with the eSuba side. They can't just ignore it. So where is the end game here, though, for eSuba? They've got an incredible amount of these 1390s. Where can they actually take them to have the advantage?
The good thing about the 1390s is it's so quick. You can get into a very good position very quickly. You can get it back to the cap if the other team is capping. You can push in. You've got a lot of damage with the F3 1440 burst. So eSuba have more damage in the short run. Obviously, if FreeFall drag it out, not the T69, the M26 Pershing, the American tank, you can see played by Morning Wolf here, will start to nibble away at the HP, and that will give eSuba a very, very tidy lead if he does get a few shots out and obviously land them. And it's not as easier said than done because the MX 3090 is so small. But generally, FreeFall is playing the standard tactic. This is what I believe Kazakru were doing at the beginning. And I'm not sure if they're actually looking to be an aggressive team on this map at this point in time. Agenti spotting out, making sure that what FreeFall can't do, eSuba can't do, is pushing into the cap with the MX 1390s. But, if eSuba decide to push onto Agenti, it would be so easy for him to go down within 2 or 3 seconds. You have 5 MX 1390s all shooting at you, while only 1.1 HP, you're pretty much down immediately. So Vistas, first frag going to FreeFall.
FreeFall picking up the first there, taking down the tier 1 of eSuba, which does remove a little bit of the comfort of knowing exactly where your enemy are. They've still got a good couple of players up though, and keep getting these spots in. Morning Wolf, Somper and Agenti all being worked out. Birgit here in surprisingly a 1390 in a unique position actually all the way up here, but still he's not actually let any shots off yet, and I'm surprised at the lack of blind shots coming out from eSuba, but then again, giving away the position sometimes may not be the ideal thing when they've lost out a tier 1, and they actually have very few people back in a defensive spot here. Looking back at who's actually around, it's pretty much just Fluky. So as we've seen a slight rise in cap pressure, teams actually looking to make the difference here, they do need to be a little cautious of the more defensive plays, as Voodoo's actually coming back as well. Might be indicative of them just being a little bit more cautious towards what could be coming out from FreeFall if this does become a game of a base race almost. We'll have to find out who goes for what, and is there any incentive now for FreeFall to make a move, or is there still too much pressure if they actually went in for something like this?
I think as a more general aspect of FreeFall's play, I think they have the tongue and gums. What they don't have is the teeth, and the teeth do the damage at the end of the day. And that's what they've been lacking against a lot of the teams. They just haven't had the real damage and the real tenacity to go forwards, whereas eSuba have been trying at least. And you can see Voodoo's pushing forwards, trying to get higher ground, aiming up over towards Morning Wolf. And it's pretty indicative of what eSuba wants to do. Use those AMX 3090 very quickly, send them around the map, and just get the shots on when they can, get the spots on when they can.
What on earth was that analogy? I've never heard that before.
Well, I'm a unique person, so I bring my own analogies to everything,
Ah, okay. Well, anyway. 4 minutes and 56.
It's a good analogy.
I'm not sure what of.
Of damage, I don't know.
Damage.
It's a metaphor, come on.
I'm not sure what of, but anyway, Agenti and Morning Wolf peering up again. Voodoo's does get in the right position, as you mentioned, and does get a shell off. But, this is still a fairly polarizing map, maybe not to the extent of what we've seen coming out on Prokhorovka, but it's still, something of the same. And at the moment, not a great deal of commitment coming in from eSuba. Aggressive at the start, but then having to fall back after losing that tier 1. And, these all-in plays have time and place, but at the moment, it looks like they are retracting back. And 4 minutes, is that enough to make anything happen?
No, as I said before, it can happen very, very quickly. In the blink of an eye, everything can change. But honestly, eSuba's been aggressive in pretty much all their matches. FreeFall haven't. One of the most frustrating matchups we watched was the one between FreeFall and Drooling Leprechauns. It was so slow and so tasteless between the two teams. At the end of the day, FreeFall did actually push on, I believe it was Mines, and ended up losing that one. Because they just didn't have the pushing ability. They just seemed to lack it. So I'm really starting to question if FreeFall can actually make a successful push on this map. Although it's pretty hard, they can't find a way in. But what they need to do is go forward and at least try it. You're never going to win by sitting up all your tanks. It does look like they've started to amass them towards the northern side, so they are going to try something at least. Morning Wolf Juku and Beaverus. Obviously going to be going for the cap because they got the 2 tier 1s there, supported by the two hull down tanks, and I think those AMX-39s will come on the flank and just basically stop FreeFall from getting back.
Well, FreeFall might be in trouble here. We are seeing that wolf pack coming into effect. 4 1390s moving in. Wilkie the first to be found, but there are a lot of tanks waiting here. Fluky goes low. Birgit even lower. Birgit looks like the first target to get taken down. Agenti finds him. Fluky replies. Bit of a back and forth so far at the moment. All in all, though, eSuba lower for health. Everson comes in his 1390, finds Fluky. There's 2 kills back to back, however, but not on the ideal tanks. We are seeing 3 battle tanks still in the game for eSuba here. Cap does even begin for FreeFall as Morning Wolf hunts down Los Coscos. Substantially better focus fire from FreeFall, but Voodoo's finally comes in a little bit late, but better than never. But he might not be in the best spot to do much here, buying time more than anything for Twixo to go and reset that cap. Takes down Morning Wolf, but still 2 1390s against him on substantially higher HP. He's going to be in a world of trouble, and already Everson heading off to try and deal with the cap, but Voodoo's in a 1v1 battle here, does just run out of ammo. Twixo gets the reset, and this looks like it might have even fallen apart for FreeFall.
Yeah, they actually managed to kind of screw that one up a little bit, but Agenti does have the reload, and he does take down Venus.
Yeah, indeed. So already a bit of a tricky situation coming out now. 2v2, cap under and in place for eSuba. You can see that KKT Gambo is the player there. Agenti and Everson will have to deal with this. Twixo will be playing the defense game. Twixo does soak up 1 shell. Everson on substantially better HP. Twixo is now a 1-shot. He could fall here, and he does do. And well, 49 seconds for KKT Gambo to stay alive. I don't think it's going to happen.
I'm not sure why Twixo just pushed in then. He could have basically stopped Gambo from being a real nuisance. He was just going back and forwards a little bit. And he had to stall for time for Gambo. That was basically the plan, but too aggressive. Voodoo's also got killed a little bit too early. He shouldn't have gone left. He should have stayed in the fight and basically, stand his ground a little bit. But KKT Gambo running away, trying to stall for time, but with 1 minute and 5 seconds left. Obviously, AMX 3090 traveling about 65 kilometers an hour. The Tier 1 only hitting about 40. It will catch up within only a matter of seconds. You can already see the ground is being gained. It's only a matter of time before he goes down.
Oh, he's trying to play a smart game there, Gambo, but he will be found in the end. Another shell comes out, and to be fair, eSuba did get FreeFall low, but it wasn't low enough, and FreeFall will be picking up that first map with Everson and Agenti still standing. But it was a kind of all-in coming out there from eSuba. They kind of went in a pack. They did great damage, but what gave the edge in the end over?
They had the AMX 3090s with the correct reloads. That's what that's what they had. FreeFall had. When Voodoo's and Twixo were reloading, yep, Everson and Agenti weren't. So they could actually take down Voodoo's first, who I think he should have been a little bit more clever, gone over towards the left a little bit more, but he was pretty much dead either way. And then I think Twixo was just being too aggressive and tried something against Everson, thought he could outplay him, which he couldn't. Everson hit every single shot. So it was a good initiation from eSuba. I'm not sure why Voodoo's didn't actually go into the firefight at the beginning. Yeah. He should have been in there from the start, because you could see the HP at the end of the day for FreeFall, 207 and 204, I think it was.
Very, very low.
Average damage on the F3 on the MX 1390 240, so 2 1-shots. All they need is 2 more shots to win that game.
Yeah, and this is just maybe a little lack of cohesion there, and it's more surprising that it comes out of a team captain, and maybe that is something that we see him working a little bit better for FreeFall, but still, I don't like team captains being in battle tanks these days. I like them in the tier 1s. They get smarter, or at least a little more time to think a little bit clearer about the situation unfolding. Clearly, maybe. I say clearly, maybe that was a factor into as to why Voodoo's was a little late to the party there. Wasn't as involved as he'd hoped to be, and it just didn't pan out in their favour at all. I've got to say, it was a little bit lackluster in my eyes, a bit of an all-in rush when really they didn't have to go for that then. Next map being Cliff, though. What can we expect here? We've seen aggressive Cliff and we've seen super passive Cliff. There's not been a middle ground yet where we see a back and forth. Is this going to be a game of extremes, or is this going to be a very passive one?
Good thing about Cliff is that if you do go aggressive early on, you can get a good advantage. We saw in the previous matchup, Kazda Crew couldn't quite take it. I'm not sure if they actually used a proper aggression. I think the middle aggression is better as opposed to going around the lighthouse.
Yeah, I didn't like that from them.
It can work, but it has to be absolutely on point. And as I said, if you can just head it back on the VODs, and they made 2 fundamental mistakes. Wondering if one of these two teams is going to be doing the same. Cliff has been mildly slow of late, more towards the beginning of the season. I have to say it's kind of picked up pace a little bit in the middle, and I think FreeFall do work better when the pace is slow. eSuba is a lot better when it goes quickly, and especially when there's more than one angle when they come from. They're very good in those kind of crossfire situations.
Well, let's see if they can force any of that. As we said, Cliff being next. It's a map of extremes so far to at least our eyes. It's either an all-in or nothing, pretty much. And we saw eSuba going for the all-in the previous matchup there, or in the previous map. Didn't really pay off too well for them. A bit of a rushed push, I feel. Could have been thought out a little better, but maybe they can kind of adjust themselves here. And what sort of tanks are we going to be seeing?
Very hull down orientated map. Double AMX 1390, triple AMX 1390 for FreeFall, double tier 1 as well, of course. This is 742, so 5 times 8 with your main combat tanks, that's 40, plus the 2 tier 1s, that's 1 point apiece, making 42. And for eSuba, double AMX 1390, triple T69, double tier 1. Still waiting for Sompo, who's just picked up the T69. Morning Wolf played the Pershing on steps, so I imagine he's going to be playing either that tank again or possibly another tier 69. I don't think he's going to be bringing anything else. He does pick up that later one, the tier 69. So double tier 69, triple AMX 1390 for both teams here. So mirrored match. Actually, eSuba's picked up one more. So triple at tier 69, double AMX 1390. So a little bit of a difference, but all in all, pretty similar lineup. I just think it depends on how you play it as opposed to the tank you've picked.
And where is your prediction on this one? Who's got the edge? Because I don't think we really saw much from eSuba in the last game, apart from the all-in pick and then an all-in play. But FreeFall looks okay, but not substantially better, only having 2 tanks alive at the end. It was close, but it wasn't a smart close. It was a sloppy kind of, slapdash approach. This map, if it goes that way or if it doesn't, who has the edge?
I think eSuba, if they play aggressively, they have the triple T69, so they can be very good and hull down. I think they're going to be the victors here.
Well, we're going to find out in a couple of seconds as Cliff is next. So, battle number 2 now, seconds away. eSuba up against FreeFall. FreeFall so far looking a touch stronger than eSuba, but the all-in makes it very hard to kind of predict. So, in the south in blue this time, it's the leaders so far, FreeFall, the Finns, looking to do some damage up against eSuba in the north in red, trying to kind of bring themselves back into this game. What are FreeFall bringing to the plate so far?
Some good starting positions for Everton and Genty. They're going to be very quick in towards the middle. Wilkie in hot pursuit, Morning Wolf and obviously Sompo and the 2 T69s. Slightly slower, going to be at the back of the pack. Juku, Beaverus in their respective positions with the tier 1s. Similar story for eSuba. Obviously from the north, it's slightly slower towards the middle. That's why we see a lot of teams retracting back. And the 3 T69 line up by eSuba doesn't give them so much speed at the beginning. Interesting that on steps, 5 MX 1390s, but on Cliff, they use a lot less than FreeFall. 1 less than FreeFall, but a lot less than steps. So 2 MX 1390s in the middle, not messing about. I think if FreeFall did end up pushing, they could easily win it out here. Los Cos could go down very quickly. But then, they got the 3 T69s back there as well. It could be tricky for FreeFall. But they would have to commit 100% those T69s to actually deal with a push.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see if they'd ever do that. I'd love to see FreeFall actually going for it. But already eSuba losing that tier 1 is going to remove some flexibility to the strategies, at least for them, and they have to be a little more careful, not a substantial amount, but enough to be a little wary, but still. eSuba, Voodoo's there, the team captain, just backing away a touch from that hill and leaving it to the other side. But this is the first time in a little while we've not actually seen an aggressive push beginning from especially the southern side, so FreeFall would normally be the aggressors in what we've seen recently. And is there any reason why we're seeing more southern teams playing the more aggressor?
This, they have the better positions at the beginning. They can be very aggressive around the kind of lower area here, and they can get the early damage on, whereas the northern teams can't. But I have to say one thing I really dislike about FreeFall is that they play what everyone else plays. They did it on steps, and they only won it because eSuba messed up their coordination in the MX-1390. They're doing exactly what every other team's come up with here. Genty goes up there, and he comes back down, and he reverses across here, a bit like Denial Esports does, Evil Panda Squad does, TCM Gaming does. There's no originality in their play, which is fine. But then Denial Esports won it on the last map. No, I think it was Denial Esports against TCM Gaming, where they just went aggressive at the end and managed to draw the series up all even. When you don't have that spark of brilliance, you can't actually win it when it comes to a different kind of style of play, a little bit of originality in their play.
Yeah, I'm not too fond of this, but it has given a little bit of room to breathe. As you can see, Voodoo's and Sylvester making their way around the west side of the map. Might make a move out of this. Juku appearing up as well, but I don't believe Voodoo's was spotted just yet. He does take down Juku, so that might give away the game a touch. But Agenti wasn't far away. He was the man just up on top of the slight hill there, making those cross shots. But as you said, there's not much, you know, new tactics brought to the plate by FreeFall. They're very much playing a tried and tested Cliff rather than an interesting Cliff. We've seen the teams who've innovated so far making the differences. They're the teams that have actually won on this. Let's be serious here. The teams that have pushed, the teams that have found a way through. At the moment, I'm looking to see if FreeFall can do that. They're a team with capability, good players, talented players, but they need to get themselves into a position where they can actually make moves. And it looks like Everson's at least going to try something.
A bit of a dangerous move. We saw Denial Esports do something similar, basically commit to MX-39 to the left, but they got spotted, and that's very dangerous from them. You can see Somper, Morning Wolf, Wilkie. Wilkie's got to stay up, but Morning Wolf and Somper have got to go back, because if eSuba realizes what's happening, they're going to go aggressive and they're going to catch them out very, very alone indeed. Not very much support. Genty makes a couple of shells towards Los Coscos, doesn't connect one, and Everton retracting back, going towards his original starting position, but instead he's actually going to just do, I don't know what he's doing. He's going kind of a loop-de-loop at the moment. He was there a minute ago and he went back, and then he just can't make up his mind at all. Maybe a little bit indicative of FreeFall as a team in general, but just because the information's coming and it's going, it's ebbing and it's flowing, and he's just got to react to it at the best time he can and in the best way he can, which is going to be pushing along the bottom a little bit. Doesn't get spotted, so he can be fairly sure there's not a tank there. There is one, but it's a tier 1. And so he can go forwards behind the bush. It won't actually manage to get spots out. The tier 1 doesn't, even with binocular telescope, have the greatest amount of view range. And I think he's trying to find a tier 69 from behind. I'm not quite sure though.
Yeah, Voodoo's was actually the one who split round there. He's going to be coming back, but it was the T69 move that interested me from eSuba. And you said if eSuba knew what FreeFall were up to, then they might have actually made a push. And it looked like they got the tanks into the right place, but they never quite made that commitment over that slight hill in the middle. Fluky then making a couple of shots, but now they've got Voodoo's with them. They might actually make a little bit of a play out of this one, but I'm yet to see them really commit here and actually go for something. But oh god forbid, we're seeing the 1390 split. This went disastrously wrong in the previous game. I'm hoping that it goes a little better here for eSuba, but you know, who'd you rather, Veko and Hyber or Voodoo's and Los Coscos?
Copy paste Kaz and the crew. I'd prefer Veko Hyber, but that's only me.
We are seeing the T69 push in the middle though. That's a slight difference. Yeah,
they're actually getting a simultaneous push on. Perfect timing because Everton's out of position. Voodoo's does find Beavers. He's got to be very careful. Beavers just saying out live, Voodoo's will have to waste a shell, and it'll take at least 30 seconds for him to get out of that position. So Los Coscos has got to wait, and you can see how FreeFall has responded. Wilkie is up onto the lighthouse. He's completely blocked off Voodoo's. He's got him absolutely shut down, and he just won't be able to get out of there. Agenti, Somper, Morning Wolf, all in the middle, and Everson's going to be joining them from the right as well. I think they might actually be wanting to push on to eSuba, but what eSuba does now, he's got 3 T69s in the middle. That's the advantage of having those T69s. FreeFall will never be able to win that initial engagement and never be able to get the burst damage necessary to deal with these 3.
Well, Birgit, Twixo and Fluky now moving in for the battle. Agenti will be spotted, Wilkie receives a shell, and a couple of shots come out. Good connections, but not brilliant. The burst fire potential is massive, but they're being caught on the cross. They must win this engagement. Birgit finally takes down Agenti. Somper, not expecting to be this close. Fluky and Birgit are being caught out. Voodoo's does take down Morning Wolf, but this is going to be a close battle all in all. It's come down to a little bit of a brawl, but here comes the rest of eSuba. Wilkie is left out on a limb. He can't do much. He can get the fire from above, but it's not perfect. And you can see Somper is buying time, and Wilkie's landing these shots. He's taken down one. He's got the connection towards Birgit, but Birgit just moving in. Wilkie needs to land every single one of these if he wants to make it count. Birgit goes low. 2 shells back to back. Fire comes in from the east side, but Twixo finding Somber has eliminated some of that pressure, but still they need to find the remaining 2, Everson and Wilkie. Birgit is low, but still they have the HP advantage and the tank numbers.
Everson and Wilkie also reloading. That's the third factor coming in here. 2 minutes and 38 seconds left on the clock. This is pretty much a win for eSuba. Not the fastest lineup to catch up with the AMX 1390s, but Los Coscos and Voodoos have about the same amount of HP, so they will be able to catch up at the end of the day. But Wilkie, being so far up on that hill, he's going to have a great view across the map, and they are going to be able to sandwich Voodoos.
Well, 2v4, if they can pull it off, it'd be impressive, but Voodoos already does manage to catch Everson once. So Voodoos now moving in. Clearly Wilkie not yet having the reload available, but Everson does. So 1 shell exchanged. Voodoos just go out on top so far. 1390 v 1390, and we're going to have to see if Wilkie can come in and save the day. At the moment, Everson not allowing him to really. He's not putting him in a position he can really provide support, but Everson has taken Voodoos fairly low. Everson will get the kill towards Voodoos, and now 2v3. Game's back on, and Twixo has a long climb to catch up to Wilkie.
2 shots missed by Everson there, by Voodoos, the team captain actually. That's about 480 damage and 391 damage left for him. It would have been game over for Everson, so bad play by Voodoos, a guy who's got very much experience at AMX 1390. Los Coscos, it's there in support.
Yeah, but we are seeing those T69s being removed. This is looking like it could change hands here. Finally, Twixo does get up on the hill, but Wilkie on the run. He is getting the hell out of there. Los Coscos on the split. They brought it back from a 4v2 to a 2v2. If these guys get reload available and work together, there's still a possibility, and Twixo struggling to get into a good position here. T69 does have the superior spot now, but he's going to have to land these shots pretty damn well. He does get the first. Los Coscos yet to find Everson. Now, still back to that 2v2. 1 minute and 5 seconds left. Wilkie goes unspotted. Twixo looking like he wants to move in. Everson does get spotted. Los Coscos has to catch up. Nice work from Twixo there on the cross. Cross catching Everson. Doesn't get the follow-up though. Shot comes back through. These guys are playing this one close. 48 seconds here. If these guys can draw this one out, it'll be very impressive. Everson is still hot on the run. He's trying to get out of this one. Twixo now committing off that hill. He needs to cut these guys off. Buy some time for Los Coscos. Oh, and he gets tracked coming off the hill. He does have to get that back up and running. 33 seconds now. Fire coming through. Both are spotted. Can they survive? This is the big question. Wilkie lands one on the run. 25 seconds. They're still going strong here. Los Coscos just can't catch up. He is nowhere near this. Twixo will have to be a key player. And another shell comes in. Wilkie still doing the damage. This is going to come down to the wire. 13 seconds left. 2v2. And I think Neon FreeFall have escaped this.
They have escaped. The MX 1390 is so much faster. This is the advantage they have. But Los Coscos is in the middle. Finds Everson. 2
seconds left. Wilkie, I think, has just stayed alive long enough. Twixo couldn't catch up in time.
One more shell.
Wow. Brilliantly played out in the end. You know, there's very few instances we see draws being interesting, but that time it was.
They had like about 150 to 200 HP left. That would have been 100% a win for eSuba there.
Yep.
So close. And what it came down to was, I believe it was Twixo on the hill. He had a shot against Everson. He hit it perfectly, but he hit the tracks. And now, tracks now active spaced armor since few patches, and it doesn't do any damage. So he basically didn't do the damage there, despite hitting the MX 1390 at full trot across about 350 to 400 meters. So very unlucky from eSuba, but FreeFall do get away with that one. And you know, having that extra MX 1390 does have its benefits. And once again, Cliff showing that it's a map where you can basically run away and draw it on.
But I've got to give credit over towards the FreeFall guys there. They did turn around from a 4v2 to pretty much a 1v1 in the end that they could have lost, but they drew it out. Considering how little time was left to be able to kind of kite these guys around the map perfectly was very impressive stuff. Los Coscos just didn't seem to get into that battle for so long. He got juked time and time and again. He could never quite catch up to the likes of Everson. And, you know, I like the way Wilkie played on the hill. Wilkie has been one of these players who can either save the game or completely throw it. And in that time, he did save it, to be fair to him. Playing that hill perfectly, making Twixo go the longest route possible, him diving off the hill. And it was just very well done in the end to FreeFall. So, you know, at the end of the day, they didn't have the most brilliant of starts, and eSuba did have a nice strategy then. I liked their 3-2 split using those T69s, using the 1390s. I think it was a better way of doing it than actually Kazna did, but they just didn't have that full commitment to end it off. And I think the focus fire let them down a little bit there. You know, it seemed a little off, but maybe that's once again what happens when you have, you know, one of your team callers pretty much focused on the battle. They can't, call out to the T69s. They're focused on their own game. They're focused on the 1390, which is the 2-split. So it's this kind of, back and forth of, is it worthwhile having them in that battle tank? Because I think if eSuba had a little more focus on who to take down, when to focus, where to go,
precisely,
it could have gone a little bit better for them.
Yeah, they kited completely. Los Coscos was along the bottom. Voodoo's got 1v1 against Everson, which was a little bit embarrassing, missing two shots at about 5 to 10 meters.
Wasn't great.
So that was the two fundamental problems. You nailed it on the head with the first one. They got kited, and you don't want to get kited in the T69. You want to be playing the center positions, and you want to be looking at the bigger picture. That was the first problem. The second problem was that 1v1, just a skill problem for Voodoo's. He has to be looking at himself in those high-pressure situations, perhaps indicative of the fact that he's not been around that much. He's only played about half the match days. Not really feeling comfortable in this season, perhaps. But we are going to be moving on to Mines, our next map. Still 1-0 to FreeFall. Third map coming up. Triple T69 double AMX 1390 double tier 1 for eSuba. Triple AMX 1390 double T69. I actually think Everson, he's an AMX 1390 player, so that's going to be triple AMX 1390 double T69. So once again, the same as previous map. FreeFall going for the extra AMX 1390. Got the double T69s in there, of course. While eSuba going for the triple T69 double AMX 1390 lineup. It's Mines, a lot smaller than Cliff, a lot easier to win on. You can't really get kited that easily, so I think that T69 extra makes a little more sense here.
Well, hopefully it does, at least for the sake of eSuba coming into play. I like the T69 on Mines. I've always liked its place on here. It's a map with varying vertical and, got the height disadvantage you get in 1390. Obviously, the gun depression on the T69 is very impressive. It gives you versatility towards what you can do. I think it could work quite nicely in this one. I'm hoping they can play to their strengths here, though. That's a big thing for me, because at the moment, some of the player skill has actually been letting them down. You're landing the shots that is such a rudimentary part of this game, but they're lacking a little bit of that, maybe as you said, the player skill under the severe pressure sometimes, just not quite as strong as we've seen in other teams just yet. But then again, it's a new season to sign these guys, both these teams new additions in some way. Obviously eSuba has been around previously, but both teams are experienced within the scene, but they do need to find their footing within this season. So I believe Wilkie will just be starting the game back up there, getting sure everything is ready to get into this one. But at the moment, Mines, it's a bit of a map with a bit of everything in it. Is there an advantage on either team here? Do they have an edge anywhere on this one, or is it pretty much whoever plays it best?
Last time FreeFall played this map from the south, they lost to their sister team, Trillium Leprechauns.
That's a good point, actually.
Wilkie picked up a KV5 and basically suicided across the middle. I think that wasn't really a good indicator of what they can actually do on this map. I have to really correct myself on the map picks, the tank picks, though. Faluki's going to be picking up a T32. Berg is going to be picking the T69, and they are going to go for that extra AMX 1390, not another hull-down tank. Looks like there's similar things happening for FreeFall. Triple AMX 1390, T32, T69. I actually like this lineup from both their teams. You obviously have the T32 for the center location.
Yep.
A lot of good alpha damage, 320. A lot of HP on that turret. A lot of HP in general. So you can kind of keep it there and it will stay there. The T69 very good for burst damage, and there's AMX 1390 is obviously good for the hill. But usually you see the team from the north go for the extra AMX 1390. From the south, where you can't actually get onto the hill just by the way the map's designed. Yeah. I'm not sure why you pick another AMX 1390 on top of it. It doesn't really make sense to me. Indeed, they're going to be picking a WZ132. So FreeFall 100% going for the hill play right now.
I still don't like that WZ132. We've seen a lot of teams trying it out. There's theoretically a place for it, let's be serious here. On paper there is, a reason to this, but I still don't like it. I don't like it in, even just the 1v1 you occasionally see up against with the 1390. It's fast, it's got its options, it's certainly up there in that, but it's never quite had a defining game where you go, yes, that is exactly the tank I want there. You don't think above the 1390. Personally, I don't think it's above the T69, but we're going to have to wait and see because FreeFall are leading. Let's see if they will after this map. Next one up is Mines. Map number 3 coming up. Mines is next. FreeFall will be starting in the north in blue. The team who you guys are favoring drastically so far, 75%. According to our social media expert over in the corner, Melly, chiming in with that little statistic there. And obviously, let's see if they can keep up to your predictions. And eSuba will be in the south in red, needing to get a map under their belt after that rather disappointing performance on that previous map there. So, what are we seeing so far from these guys?
Well, obviously FreeFall with the WZ132 are going to go for the hill, and Wilkie has that WZ132 so he can get the immediate damage.
Well, Wilkie will be ramming down Los Coscos, cutting him off from Twixo. Now 3v1, look at this play! Intentional or not, they have singled out Los Coscos. They need to take him down, they do so. Everson claims it. Now, where's the next target? Burger is to their left, but Twixo's found Everson. Twixo got up on that hill first of all, and well, the damage is certainly coming in. Wilkie and Agenti now have claimed this one. But can they keep hold of it? That's the big question to me here. Fluky looking ready, but this is not over yet. FreeFall going back in for more. Agenti, Wilkie, Morning Wolf all moving in towards Fluky. They're using this fast lineup to tear pieces into eSuba, and they're making it count. Morning Wolf and Beaverus finding opponents, taking them down. Now Burgett, the next target. Wilkie is out on a limb. This could be a mistake, but he's just keeping the attention away, and look at the other three moving in. Somper and Morning Wolf. This is brilliant stuff from FreeFall. Burger is going to be made into a hunk of metal now. He's got nothing to do but die. Down to 195 HP. One more shot will do the job from either of these guys. Oh, jeez. 189 left on 6 HP. There we go. Morning Wolf has to use a shell on that one, but still. 3 tanks now remaining for eSuba. This has been a whitewash if I've ever seen one. Twixo and Voodoo's, the last two standing. This has been a dire performance from eSuba.
Well, Wilkie has to be careful because Voodoo's got plenty of damage as well. Twixo's going to try and focus on him, gets taken down by Agenti, goes from bad for worse for eSuba.
Yeah, it's not going well, let's be serious here. And Voodoo's, he's pretty much going into his doom now, surrounded by FreeFall. He's taken down Wilkie at least, but it's not enough. And Savista, just playing Ring of Roses with Juku right now. But I think we know how this one ended, quite drastically in favor to FreeFall with a stunning performance that we rarely see, truly showing the ability of that WZ132. But why on earth did that work out so well then?
It's strange. That is the first time in a very long time where the hill push has actually worked out 100% for the team with the WZ132.
Yep.
It's all the other team usually always kind of counteracts it by not going on the hill so aggressively.
Yeah, they just leave it there for a little while.
I'm not sure why eSuba actually went for that early aggression. It didn't actually go bad for them. They got a 1-for-1 exchange, but where FreeFall had the advantage was they had the position, they had the hill 100%, and the winning move for them was they weren't scared. They just went forward.
Pushed off,
they pushed off forwards. They didn't let the T-32 get in the fight, which would have been a big problem for Morning Wolf. Brilliant player in that tank. So once the T-32 went down, in a blink of an eye, we can have a look at the damage. 1,589 from Wilkie. Only Morning Wolf picking up a little bit more in that T-69. As I said, a very, very good player. And that, as I said before, is how you play that map. You get onto the hill very quickly, and then you pounce onto the team immediately as they retract because they don't have the hill. And I think Voodoo's trying to go in at the last minute. I mean, you do need some Voodoo magic to take 4 tanks on at the same time. I think they could have brought it back a little bit.
They could have done something, but just the play, even off the back of the initial move then, you know, I want to kind of break it down step by step, because as you said, WZ132, when aggressive, they got the hill. To be expected. The 21390s from eSuba also got to the position. Not sure why they committed, as we said, not the ideal thing. We know the WZ132 will be there. It does have faster reload, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. It doesn't have an auto load either, so you have the shots as immediately
damage is
getting
there.
hill. Exactly.
So you saw already, and I don't know if they meant this, but they were able to single out one of the 2 initial 1390s by Wilkie pretty much being, you know, a meat shield towards it. Just put himself in the right place, stopping the other tank from being able to rotate off the hill, and they got that guy down. The focus fire, I feel, was absolutely spot on for once from FreeFall. Sometimes they struggle a little with it. They're not the most cohesive of teams at times. They have potential,
Sure.
They have a lot of good players, but then, as you said, the push off the hill is what impressed me. Wilkie was not scared at all of doing this in that WZ132, pushed off the hill, straight down, and then, you know, the tank was in the way, completely focused on Wilkie, and everyone else just slowly made their way in before even Wilkie fell, took him down instantly. And it's just this faith in each other that I feel came off perfectly. You know, actually having the cohesion, you know, the team fight abilities. Yeah. I'm actually quite impressed with what we've seen so far. So we are just waiting on a couple of things to come back up, I believe, and waiting on the teams to sort themselves out. The next map being Ruinberg. I'm not sure what to expect. At the moment, FreeFall looking quite good, I'd say. In the last map, if they can replicate that over and over again, I'd be very impressed. But it's not going to be an easy one because, Ruinberg doesn't necessarily allow for that quick strategy unless they go for that Crescent Moon play. But we haven't really seen that kind of push coming into effect in a long time.
Yeah.
But then again, they like their T69s. They like the 1390s in play. They could do it, but I feel it's a risk.
It's a big risk. I think all the teams have kind of learned that the heavier lineups are actually working a lot more. And we saw a couple of teams still try the classic Season 3, Season 2 style on Ruinberg, which was picking, an AMX 1390 and AMX 5100s and T69s. And then they got absolutely stomped by the 2 IS3s, the 350-100s. That's what basically happened. So I think these two are going to be picking pretty heavy tanks all in all. And it's just going to be about who can actually get themselves in the better position.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of Ruinberg, I have to say it. It's a bit like Prokhorovka. It's very polarizing. The
True.
northern team goes over towards that village, the southern team goes over towards the city, and you get that kind of the real magnetic force. They're just pushing each other away because they can't get themselves into an advantageous position, and when they do push, most of the time they go for the cap. So you kind of have to really time it perfectly where you carry the team to one side and you actually go for the real objective on the other.
Yeah, and guys at home, we do know there may be a small delay as game servers are temporarily unavailable. I believe they're back up, and we'll be jumping straight into game as soon as everything is resolved. Obviously, we don't want to, make these teams, wait around. So do make sure you guys stay tuned. We'll keep you updated, but so far we're just making sure everything is okay. Apparently all servers are now available again, so we're just going to make sure that is the case before we get back into this one. And obviously what you guys have been waiting for is to talk to Melly. You kind of gave me an update halfway through this one of how one-sided the votes were. That's pretty unbelievable stuff.
It is, and let me just quickly check again. It's still 61% for FreeFall, so community definitely has its favorite there.
For sure.
And yes, I mean, FreeFall's new to the season. eSuba, we already know. I don't know if it's like the benefit of the newcomer, which you can't.
Maybe.
FreeFall, you can't really call FreeFall as a
newcomer. Yeah.
But
It's
you
true.
know what I mean.
Yeah, they're new to the league, but they're not new to the scene. They've been around for a while, obviously playing A-Series a lot, coming second there. So, they've been around the block a few times. They've been an extremely good team, so definitely not a newcomer. But eSuba, certainly not either. They've been in the Wargame League before in Season 2 and not performed particularly well there. I think they're doing a better job this time around. I thought they'd be a little bit stronger, but we still have a few match weeks left. But we do look like we have all the technical problems resolved. I'm pretty sure you guys know what the technical problems is because you can't log onto the game servers either. We do play on the live server. It's not any kind of
exactly
special
the same
one.
as you guys get.
Exactly what you guys are playing. Might be just a problem with the Switch or something around because it only seems like eSuba have been disconnecting the finish from the FreeFall. Doing absolutely fine. That's the Scandinavian internet connections for you. But I believe FreeFall actually getting their tanks. They've only got 4 of them, so I'm going to wait for the tank lineups.
Let's wait a little bit of time. We are just obviously going to make sure everything is correct. We don't want to start this game halfway through and then realise, okay, there's still issues. Going to just make sure we take our time in this one. But so far, I believe we are seeing it 2-0 in favour to FreeFall. They are now on match point. They are looking very strong in this. Can they get the victory here, or do you think they'll play it passively and hope for a better map, maybe that can have a more decisive result?
They have to go for the victory. They haven't got enough victories yet or draws to actually go for the 1 point. They got the 1 point in the bag right now. They could lose these 2 maps and it'll be 2-2 because of that draw on Cliff, which I think eSuba will be kicking themselves a lot more for now. So they have to go for the win. I'm not sure if it'll be Ruinberg or Himmelsdorf, which one they get it on. But one of the two, they are the stronger team here. I think it's guaranteed that they'll actually do it, but it's a hard one. I'm not sure if they're a bit like TCM where they struggle towards the later, the last couple of maps, the last map.
We're going to find out.
We're going to certainly find out. But again, I'm not sure if Ruinberg is the one they're actually going to close it out on. They've still got a couple of maps. They can still draw this one.
Yeah, it's quite a polarizing map as well. We've seen a lot of teams going for passive play. We've seen fairly aggressive play as well, coming out using that village, and teams happily to push. But then again, there is quite a, I give Cliff a lot of grief for it being a map you can draw out on. But Ruinberg's not too much different. Sometimes, if a team wants to play passively, they pretty much can. If a team wants to turtle down, they can especially from the south. I feel they can just turtle the hell down and sit there. Same to an extent can be done from the north. And we see a lot of teams, if they have to, going for those draws. And it's not a bad thing necessarily if they're in this position. But as the tanks do start to come through, we will have a little look once they get confirmed and locked in there. We don't want to just tell you these atrocious lies that we do occasionally. But still, it's a map that can be pretty much defined by a team wanting to do so. If they really want to play for the victory, you can go for it. It may be risky, but you can always go for it. But a draw can also be forced as well to an extent, or at least a very passive stance. And do you think FreeFall's a team that might do that? Will they have that passive ability? Do they have that discipline to be able to do it?
It would be logical for them to do it because they are in the lead at the moment. They only needed to draw this one pretty much, and they cancel out the ability for eSuba to go tool, which would give them the 1 point. Lineups are in though. Double AMX 5100, IS3, AMX 3090, T69 for FreeFall. Double AMX 3090, double 5100, T69, double tier 1 for eSuba.
That looks like a city lineup to me, but we'll see how it comes into effect. So the next map coming up is going to be Ruinberg. So, battle number 4 going to be taking place in Ruinberg. Both lineups looking a little heavy, but we do see that T69 for Wilkie, so interesting choice. We'll see how that comes into effect, but as we now know, FreeFall will be in the south, in blue, in the north, in red is eSuba, and eSuba need to start turning up here as well. FreeFall are on match point. So what are we seeing so far from these guys?
I have to say, if FreeFall were playing poker, they'd be very easy to read because Wilkie always plays a tank their tactic revolves around. He played it on mines with the WZ132, played it on AMX 3090 on the cliff there, so he's playing the T69, so FreeFall obviously going for the hull down position, which is really only in the middle area. You can already see they're going there. So I'm not sure if eSuba have caught on to this fact, but Berger already been spotted out on the cross. Could be dangerous if those AMX 3090s can get a couple of shots on. They don't have reload right at the beginning, so probably not. And it would also be dangerous stuff to just stop and shoot for them, especially when you got the 5100s. But both teams pretty similar in terms of damage. The only difference is that eSuba don't have as much HP, but more burst potential because Fluky's playing the T69, of course. But good to see that they're going for the village. We've seen a polarizing stance on this map from a lot of teams, but these two not going for that one at all. So it'll be an interesting one. Who can actually come out the better. I don't think FreeFall has to worry because they got that IS3 and they can just send it right into the middle of eSuba and then flank with those AMX 5100s from the sides.
Well, already Birgit has landing a nice little shot towards Agenti there, just through those buildings. Agenti yet to really make a reply, yet does have eyes on to an extent. Twixo's there, and we are seeing the main area taken up by Voodoo's Fluky and Los Coscos. So already a nice beginning from both sides. I like eSuba's play on this. They've done the early damage, but still, I'm waiting to see the real reply coming out from FreeFall. And as you said, maybe defining these tactics on what Wilkie is doing is a mistake. It's quite readable, as you mentioned. We can kind of have a guesstimate as to what he's doing, but who's got the advantage here overall position-wise?
Position-wise, most would say from the north it's easier to go into the village than it is from the south. But then again, FreeFall are in the village. And it really does depend on what Somber can do right here in the IS3. So if eSuba do push in, they're going to have to deal with him very, very quickly. Los Coscos getting caught.
Yeah, Los Coscos is in trouble. He was in the wrong position at the wrong time there. 1390. Not exactly the heaviest tank in the world either. Thankfully, his teammates are backing him up with a little bit of fire. Wilkie does get caught as well. Fluky yet to really receive any damage, and the T69 that Fluky's in can play a little smarter, a little safer. So, evening up the damage a touch there. Not to the main extent, but still, FreeFall, they're playing a dangerous game here. They're not in the most safe of positions. Wilkie being caught out, not ideal either. And we are seeing the smart split coming out from Voodoo's and Slasvista. And I want to see if they can get any shots here. Voodoo's is keeping eyes off, actually. So this could be interesting. If he finds any of those spots, he could do a lot of damage. And initially, we always saw a 1390 split down this way from both teams. Why are FreeFall not doing that?
It's hard because they could get caught out from up here, If you have an AMX 30 down 90 down here, it can be destroy very quickly from the T-69s, the hull down tanks there. But it does remind me a little bit of what the Evil Panda Squad did. I'm not sure why Esuba is not doing it. They can just send the MX-1390 around and catch catch Wilkie, put a tank here so Wilkie can't cross, and you've basically got a T-69 free kill. And it's probably why Wilkie's going forwards. They saw the tier 1 and were spotted, and if they do push, they're going to go in a 5 versus 4 situation, which is going to be great, because Voodoo's is down all the way in towards the bottom of that F road. But we're still going to have to see if that actually comes down to the cap, because FreeFall always have a lot of tanks up there in the village.
Yeah, nice work there from Fluky, and Los Coscos does find a little bit of damage towards Somper. Double bit of damage coming in. You can see these guys have kind of caught him out, and I feel eSuba are working the city a little better. They seem to be able to use these buildings a little more to their advantage. They're getting more shots off now. And look at Somper, look at Agenti. Both are quite low, and I'm quite impressed so far. But then again, I've seen eSuba taking the advantage before, and I don't want to read too much into it just yet.
And Morning Wolf actually going forward, Twixo.
Yeah, Morning Wolf moving in. Everson as well. He's going to be catching some of these guys out. Twixo's in trouble. He's going to be singled out here. Agenti moving in, but Twixo's making a great stand out of this. Fluky finds one. Agenti finally takes down Twix, and they've opened up a slight touch of this map. But FreeFall going hell for leather. Burger is next, but he only gets tracked, and Burger gets Agenti. Fire now continuing. eSuba has a disadvantage of players. But, well, you're seeing a back and forth between these guys. The push has not stopped, and FreeFall are picking these kills up. Somehow, Fluky and Voodoo's finally coming to the battle, but they are surrounded here. Everson comes in with the first. Reply comes through. Everson gets one more, but he's down to a one-shot here. Voodoo's swings in. Fluky claims it, but can they take down Wilkie? Wilkie, pretty much the last real damage-dealing tank at FreeFall. He's a couple of shells away from being taken out, back up and functioning, but now down to a one-shot. Who's going to claim this? One shell will bounce. Voodoo's full HP here, looking to cause a big damage. This is trouble. Wilkie could come off reload a little quicker here, but Fluky chasing him down. Wilkie needs to buy time. These two tier 1s can play safe. Oh, Fluky comes in with a big kill there, takes down Wilkie, and now we're left with the two tier 1s. Can they save the day?
Well, they got Fluky and Voodoo's to deal with. That was pretty much game over when Wilkie went down. They didn't have the HP to deal with. Beavers might be able to take down Slavistas, but yeah, it looks like Esuba are going to be taking at least one map in this best of 5. FreeFall, perfect push, but they didn't have enough HP to actually pull it off. You can see Voodoo's has 1,052, and FreeFall lost about 1,052 before they actually made the engagement. And despite Voodoo's being out of position in the beginning, it made up the difference basically. Juku does take down one tier 1 there, but I believe Fluky Voodoos will be able to clean them up pretty quickly. 3 minutes and 58 seconds left on the clock. Probably a little bit too long to draw this.
Well, we can find out. Juku does juke Fluky, but as you said, caps are still an option, and you can see the time they would take with just one tank in here. Fluky playing it smart, getting himself in there. Voodoo's watching the cross. Juku does get taken down on the second time of asking, and now just one tier 1 stands, and I don't think he can do too much.
Beavers, he's going to try and stop the cap. I mean, 1 minute and 20 seconds. He's got time to do that, but as soon as he does stop it, it's going to be game over. He's going to have to try and suicide here. He's not going to waste any time. It's a loss for FreeFall a while ago. No spots coming out. Fluky will find him. That tier 1 obviously not having as good view range. So Esuba picking it up in interesting fashion. I think it was more down to the fact that from the north on Ruinberg, you actually do get the better place in the city, in the village even. The initial damage coming onto, I believe, Agenti there. And it just gave Esuba a lot of good positioning and good damage when they went in for when FreeFall went into the engagement.
Yeah, I'm not sold by that kind of all-in play, and I think you pointed out a really interesting factor to me. Wilkie being such a pivotal role within the FreeFall lineup. And if, let's say, a slightly better team, or a slightly more tactically aware team, let's say, I know no discredit to Esuba, but you know, if you up the game a little bit, you up the stakes, if they start noticing that Wilkie is literally the center point of the tactics sometimes, that means pretty much FreeFall are completely readable at times. This is a big problem going forward, and next map being Himmelsdorf, I don't think you can give away too much on this map, as it's quite a, down to the team map. You know what you're going to be seeing here. It's not going to be a surprise coming off the back of one tank, really. I say this, and it'll probably take a KV5, but, I'm sticking with my words on this one. But let's look back to other maps and look back at what we've seen. WZ132 was another pivotal tank. In that game, T69 gave away the game. Could this be a fundamental flaw in FreeFall's plan going forward?
It is a fundamental flaw. If you can read Wilkie so easily, you can read FreeFall so easily, it's a big one.
Yeah.
But it's Himmelsdorf, so you have
You
the
can't give away
standard-
too much.
You can't give away too much. You have the standard tanks, but still, you see Wilkie picking a 5100, then perhaps they're going to be going for the hill a little bit more. If he's picking the IS3, then it's the
It's
8
true.
line, it's the hold down positions a little bit more. It's about where FreeFall engages, and that's where Wilkie will be. It's something you have to address, and maybe
Alright.
one of the reasons why a team captain should always be playing a tier 1 as opposed to a tier 8, because it's so readable at the end of the day. But as I said, Winter Himmelsdorf will be our next map, and we're going to be expecting 3 AMX 5100s, 2 i3s, 2 tier 1s. Indeed, that's what the pickup for eSuba, at least, waiting for FreeFall's picks up next.
Yeah, no real surprises, and let's keep in mind this can be still drawn out. And eSuba, they've not looked great. Let's be serious. They've looked okay. They've had moments of looking all right, but they've dropped the ball a couple of times. I look back to Cliff especially. That was a very defining map for me. That they had quite a good advantage. They kind of let it trickle through their fingers there. But Himmelsdorf, you can't really do that too much. There's a limited amount of creativity, but it's more the execution within the standardized rules, or the standardized play, let's say. Now let's break down what could happen in this game, and really, does eSuba have a chance here? If they play Himmelsdorf as we know, and let's assume FreeFall play Himmelsdorf as we know, who comes out better?
eSuba did a good job against Kaz and Crew, which could be argued as a very strong city map team. We saw it at least in the previous matchup.
Yep.
And they did a good job against them from the south. So I actually think eSuba have an equally good chance, or even better chance, because FreeFall is a lesser team than Kaz and Crew. Let's all be honest here. So I think maybe you could draw up the series. But then again, as FreeFall have a lot more to fight for. I don't know, it's hard to say that. I can't really say they have a lot more to fight for, but FreeFall really want to get this win. And they might just end up drawing it. Himmelsdorf is hard to draw because you can go for the tier 1 caps at the end of the day. You can get the distraction on. You got the hill to play with, but you can still draw it. It's still a map where if you hunker down in the right position, especially from the north, the other team just can't find a way. And so it'll be interesting if FreeFall do that. They didn't do it on Ruinberg, even though starting from the south, they could have gone left and just sat in that bush, that area. They didn't do that, which is great to see. But the lineups are completely set in, and as I said before, triple AMX 5100, double i3, double tier 1. What we'd expect from the north, I believe it's eSuba. From the south, it's FreeFall, or probably the other way around. Actually, it always confuses me that. But yeah, I think FreeFall will take this at least, or draw it at least.
I'm going to put my faith in eSuba, just for the crack of it. So, ladies and gents, it's about time to get into that final map. It's going to be Himmelsdorf. Let's find out what the end result is going to be. And welcome into battle number 5. Every game so far is going through to that 5th and final map. Now I'll be able to walk away with that decisive 3-0 victory. Currently set at 2-1. FreeFall looking a little bit better off at the beginning, but eSuba showing that there is still a little bit of bite to their bark, and we're going to see what they can do here. So, in the south in blue, it will be FreeFall, and in the north in red, it's eSuba. So, take us into what we're watching so far.
Standing start from FreeFall, sending 3 MX 5100s toward the hill. Beaverus and Wilkie, the tier 1 and the IS3, heading towards the 8 line, and Sompa in towards the middle, Juku towards the left. That's for FreeFall, the Finnish team. And for the Czech team, eSuba, Los Koskos in the middle, Fluky behind Twixo there. No commitment to the hill. More of a 2-3 line push simultaneously going up the 8 line. This is a tactic I've never seen before. Could be a completely new one and could catch out FreeFall, but only Beaverus in the position to get caught out, and he is running away. And look at this, FreeFall will get loads of tanks to deal with the 8 line push.
Yeah, I'm not sure where this is heading so far. Let's break down what we're seeing from eSuba at the moment. A 3-man hit team heading along that 1 line. Voodoos plus 2 tier 1s. Maybe eyeing up the cap. Maybe. In the center of the map, we got Twixo, we got Fluky there taking a bit of damage already, and I'm not 100% sold just yet. We're finally seeing a reply from Wilkie, going back and forth. Everson now shows up. KKT Gambo does find Juku, so tier 1 battle, 1 out. They've lost complete vision over that left side of the map, but here comes the counterplay. Los Coscos caught in the heels as well. Samba comes around. Los Coscos is in trouble. Couple more shells, and he is out of this game. 65 HP is nothing. Agenti claims that one real damn fast, and now Fluky has the attention of 3 tanks. Burger and Twixo must cover him off. They've done the job. Voodoo's fine Samba, but look at Fluky here. 4 tanks against him. That is a disastrous sight to see. Everson moves in. Fluky does get the damage, but not the kill. Fluky in trouble. Wilkie claims it. And this is like FreeFall are on the move here. They're not done just yet. They're going to continue the push. Agenti trying to find one on the cross, but now Twixo running back. He might get caught in the heels. He does get one connecting, but does get to get away. But this is a sloppy bit of play from eSuba.
FreeFall just need to keep the momentum up. They've got all the damage. They got the tanks alive. eSuba lost 2, Fluky and Los Coscos, but they're the 2 IS3, so they don't actually do that much damage, so it could still be a game for eSuba to lose. At the end of the day, Evsen is pretty low on HP, about a 1-shot there in the AMX 5100, but it has to be said, FreeFall are really in the advantageous position because they got the 1 tank alive. But as you said, eSuba are going for that cap.
Yeah, but as as a FreeFall to an extent, Voodoo's now moving around, spots out Beaverus. 26 seconds going in FreeFall's favor, 19 for the other side. This is going to go down right to the wire here. Beaverus does get a reset towards Gambo. That is brilliant play, but can they keep this up? Agenti comes back in. Voodoo's gets challenged here. 1 minute and 29 for eSuba, 19 seconds over on the other side. This is going to come down to Twixo's bit of work on his own here. He is damaged. He is held. 13 seconds now for FreeFall. The reset caps are coming in 10 seconds. There we have it. Surely that's going to do the job here. As just Birgit stands 1v3. I don't think he's got the time here to get back. 2 seconds now remain. I think FreeFall have done enough. Smarter play on the cap. FreeFall pick up the victory, and job done for the Finns.
Beautiful stuff there. I must admit, eSuba's tactic was a little bit strange, perhaps a little bit cheesy, but it was nonetheless a decent one. But I think FreeFall read it perfectly. They saw the weakness and they saw where they had the strength in numbers. That was towards the 8 line. They weren't going to let themselves get distracted and buckled down there by eSuba. They pushed straight into those 3 tanks, and they came out better. They had 1 tank more, which gave them the win at the end of the day. eSuba very close to actually capping. But what basically happened is Agenti was in the perfect position, and great drive by shooting by the tier 1 across. He actually managed to find the other team's tier 1 with some great, like 60, 70, 80 meters with the 20mm spine. That's pretty insane. So all in all, I think FreeFall just being the better city map team and having the backup plan to actually deal with the cap, which is not something we always see.
No, certainly not, and something that actually works very well as well. That's the next layer for me. It's a great idea to have these backup plans, but to actually see them fall into place is the impressive part, and see it executed well. Because let's be serious here, eSuba made the first move, FreeFall replied. FreeFall's reply was stronger. They overwhelmed them, whether it be a 3v1 situation. They kept pushing, they kept on the pressure, and then they even considered what the next step for the opponents would be, which would be the cap. They saw the tier 1 falling down on the 1 to 3 line. They already considered it, put a couple of tanks back, and they dealt with it perfectly. So great performance in the end there by FreeFall. They will be claiming that match. eSuba sadly not really impressing me too much today. Again, moments of being competent, moments of being very good, but not enough to take the game in the end there. I think there's work to be done for them.
There's sparks of brilliance, but I think the main problem is actually their tactics, and I think Vuzu's definitely underperformed. He is missing those shots on Cliff, which actually won them the game. Remember, they 4 versus 2 situation on Himmelsdorf. He missed that shot against Agenti, who did 2003 damage to that map. These are all these missed shots that count. It's fair enough to miss them when you're at 450 meters and an MX 3090 is going full trot across the field. But when you're 1v1 and you're in a high pressure situation where you need to be hitting them, and as a team captain, Voodoo needs to work on that.
He certainly does, but it's not just what we think about the game, it's all about what you guys at home thought as well, and were the predictions right in the end, Melly? Because, that did come down to quite a close game at the very end of things there.
That's pretty much true. But yes, the community was right, of course, as always, as close to always. With a 70% of, I will just not comment on that, with a clear 70% for FreeFall. If we have a look on the, let me just bring this to full screen. Yes, perfect. yeah, those are the predictions for this matchup. And as you see, people were predicting pretty much a high ending for FreeFall.
Yeah.
So,
but they did give eSuba at least a map, which is pretty much spot on as well.
Of course,
I quite like that they did actually expect a little bit of a reply coming out. So it does seem as though the community know what they're talking about.
Absolutely.
Surprisingly, I mean.
Wow.
No, I'm joking. You guys are sick. I mean,
unfollow him on
I'm pretty
Twitter
sure
at
that
LaughterWOT.
No, come on, guys. You know that I love you. You're listening to me a little bit. I mean.
Why would you listen to him?
I don't know. Just the analysis. Just the analysis. But yeah, I think FreeFall just being the better team, the community, you guys could obviously see that. They were just playing better tanks.
They were, but let's start talking about the next game coming up. It'll be WOOSA up against the Drooling Leprechauns. Not sure what to make of these two. The Leprechauns having their moments. They can be a team with a lot of personality and character. WOOSA,
Yeah, I mean, WOOSA very slow at the beginning of the season with their game style. I mean, that game between Denali Sports and WOOSA was the first game we did for the Season 4, and we were like, what the hell is this? But they sped up their gameplay, and they've improved their gameplay. Drooling Leprechauns, on the other hand, have slowed down their gameplay. So these are two completely opposite teams, a little bit like FreeFall in the previous matchup. So I think this could be either an extremely, extremely slow one, where it's 4 draws and 1 win for a team, or this could just be WOOSA playing very aggressively and catching out Drooling Leprechauns, because that's what Schoolbus did against them.
Have played aggressive before. We've seen them playing fast occasionally. Occasionally, the Finnish spirit just kind of kicks in, whether it be too many hours in the sauna and suddenly they're like, do you know what, we need to play aggressive. But Melly, how can the guys at home get involved, by the way? If they do want to get their votes through on the next match coming up in just a moment's time, how can they do so?
It's really easy. Just head over to facebook.com/WGLEU and the next vote will be up in a few minutes. And just click the link below and vote for your favorite team just to see the trend of the community. And then hand in your predictions of the exact scoreline in the comment section below. And I will pick 3 winners at the end of the match. And we'll give you bonus codes. That's pretty much all. And of course, via Twitter, get involved, join the conversation, tweet us everything, what's on your mind. If you have questions, if you have, I don't know, if you want to say something about the teams or the matches themselves or certain maps, just head over to Twitter and tweet us by simply using the hashtag WGLEU. And yep, that's pretty much all. And of course, join Twitch chat and follow our Twitch channel.
And make sure you unfollow LaughterWT once again. It's good. Just remind them of that. How very day.
Or they call me Pansy. Unfollow her. She's got too many followers anyway. How many you got? Like 8,400?
8K. Not as many as Julia, but close. Anyway, next game coming up in a bit will be phenomenal. So do stay tuned. Make another cup of tea. Maybe a coffee if you want to spice things up. Who knows? We'll be back in 5.